You're on your fishing boat. The fish have been scarce today, and you've stubbornly stayed out way past your curfew trying to catch something, anything. The sun starts to dip down and twilight begins to spread before, finally, you get a bite on the line. Reeling it in while looking into the rapidly darkening depths, you swear you see a massive shadow move under the boat. But then it's gone, and the fish is nearly reeled in, so, shaking your head, you're tired and it's been a long day of disappointment. But finally, you've had success. You've caught a fish. Triumph turns to fear, though, as you look at what you've reeled in. It's just wrong. Too many eyes, tentacles sprouting from it, and you can't look at it too long. It feels like daggers are being driven into your mind. Recoiling in disgust, you throw it back into the ocean, and suddenly you realize how dark it's gotten. You can't see any other light from where you are, and the ocean's inky depths seem to steal the light, not revealing any of its secrets below. There does seem to be a deeper darkness that's moving towards your boat, though. The moment you become aware of it, it speeds up, barreling towards the surface. You scramble across the deck, cursing your bad luck today and begin pushing the boat as fast as it can go back to town. To light, to safety. And then something bumps the boat. But you manage to make it back to town safely, and you sleep off the experience. Laughing at yourself in the morning for getting so spooked the night before, you meet the shipwright, who has a puzzled look on their face as they ask if you crashed into something. Down the side of your boat are deep gashes looking like they belong to some monstrous claws. This is just a regular night in Dredge. Dredge is what I'd call a cozy horror game. You found a job posting for a fisherman and decided to head out, but on the way your ship was destroyed, so now you need to fish to also pay off your new boat and upgrade it so you can catch bigger fish. That seems peaceful enough. Until nighttime, and you're reminded that you are just a tiny speck in a world you don't know. Through the day, you won't spot anyone else crazy enough to sail a boat on these waters, but at night, when you use your horn, sometimes something in the dark will reply. Maybe you found a friend. And as you see the lights of another ship light up the darkness, you think, oh, this is someone who will help me. Only to find out it's some eldritch abomination anglerfish seeking to drag you down into the depths. And as you progress further and further through the game, the horrors don't stick to the nighttime. As you search within the Gale Cliffs, you'll inevitably cross paths with a giant serpent who is much larger than your tiny little boat. There are even actual Leviathan-shaped creatures out there in the depths. One of them, the aptly named Leviathan, lives out in the deep ocean and is large enough to swallow your ship whole. The other is definitely more Lovecraftian. In the Stellar Basin, you may be distracted by just how beautiful this place looks, until you get closer to the center and see the giant maw of what appears to be an enormous kraken. Sensing a nearby meal, you'll quickly become engulfed in a forest of twisting vine-like tentacles. But if you somehow escape, it'll leave you be. You crossed into its territory, but it doesn't have any interest in chasing you. Cosmic horror is about humanity venturing where we were never meant to, crossing into domains where we have no right to be in, and being confronted by how small we are in the cosmos. We cross into the Kraken's territory and see things no mortal man should, but is that all there is to it? You decide to take a break from the fishing for a while. You find a nice job on an oil rig. It's good money and it keeps you off the mainland, where the police have some questions you don't want to answer. You haven't worked this kind of job before, but you're good with your hands and the lecky, so it can't be too hard to keep this thing afloat. Days go by and you get into the routine, making friends and perhaps enemies of some of the less upstanding citizens on board. You never take it too far though. You're stuck here, surrounded by an inhospitable ocean, after all. Life goes on like this for a while until one day the drill hits something, and that something is not happy. It erupts out of the oil spout, consuming all those you've called friends in the last days, and others, it turns into hunting dogs, creatures set on finding and bringing back biomass to the main body. That's the story of Still Wakes the Deep, which we do have a full breakdown of on the channel, which you can find here, but we won't spoil anything too much. Things get worse and worse over time. It's all just so ineffable. This being doesn't make sense whatsoever. We don't understand it. We have no way of understanding its motivation or functions. It just simply doesn't give us the time to understand it. From the moment we disturb its territory, it grows at an exponential rate, consuming everything it touches. And even once you reach the ending, nothing is ever explained. We disturbed something we can't comprehend from a place we barely understand. And although it doesn't seem indifferent, the main body seemed to hold no malevolence, just doing what it does as we've crossed into its domain. In fact, the only hatred comes from those who already held negative emotions before they were assimilated. So far, though, we've only really scratched the surface, so let's dive deeper. You dive into the shallows near a large blue hole, a pit in the ocean's floor whose abyssal depths light doesn't reach. It's natural to feel worried, but you won't be descending too deep today, and you're an experienced diver, so this is nothing. You're quite far below the surface now. Light is still trickling down at this depth, and while some fish have tried to nibble at you, you've become quite relaxed. That's probably not good. And then an eye. No? That's a big old squid. You stared into an eye that dwarfed you and twinkled with an intelligence so alien to humanity. You were reminded of how very, very small we really are, which is a core theme of cosmic horror. It's just being reminded how small and insignificant we are on a cosmic scale. The ocean itself is more than ready to show us this, and it is not malicious, it is uncaring. We are just there. Deep sea gigantism is a fascinating and yet very horrifying concept. We don't fully understand it, and the environment it occurs in is so extreme that we struggle to even study it. The deeper you go into the ocean, the larger the creatures can become, and with so much of the ocean unexplored, who really knows what leviathans could hide within its depths? The Kraken, for example, was thought to be a story, a warning for the unpredictability of the sea. But we now know it's more than likely based off of the giant squids, which usually dwell too deep for us to find them, but due to chance, can actually wash up on shores or be seen by ships or even attack ships. And let's face it, tentacles are so alien to us. The physiology is so different to what we encounter on a day-to-day basis. When you think of course, an eldritch entity would have tentacles. I mean, how much further can we get from what we think of as regular anatomy without crossing into the indescribable? It's the only way you can actually put into words something horrifying. Of course, something truly Lovecraftian, something truly cosmic would be indescribable, and we wouldn't be able to explain it. But for the sake of being able to actually just say something other than it was indescribable, tentacles are a pretty good settle in there for us. The game Returnal leans on this. It uses tentacles heavily and is at its core a cosmic horror. We have a full breakdown on the story that you can find here, but for a very brief overview, you're trapped in an endless cycle, forced to fight for your life day after day by an entity as ineffable as it is elusive, and Returnal really does nail that point down. It hammers on the point that this thing, you won't know what it is. You'll come out of the end of it with so many questions when you play that game. And that is the point. But to find this ineffable entity, you have to sink down into the abyssal depths of the planet, and at the very bottom you find something that shouldn't exist. A glowing orb that may or may not be part of the entity tormenting you. And then you'll wake up thinking it was all a bad dream, only to begin the cycle again. There is no real escape for you, and every time you glimpse some part of that unknowable being, another part of you shatters until what remains is unrecognizable. At its core, cosmic horror is about facing something incomprehensible and being reminded of how small and unneeded we are, how unimportant we are to the universe at large. There are things out there that could just wipe us off of the board. All our centuries of work are nothing before beings that have been around for millennia. We truly are like ants to them. Even with all of our industry, the only reason we exist is because they don't care. It may not be done on purpose, but taking a glimpse behind the veil can be enough to drive a person mad, and yet all the entity did was exist. There was no malevolent will towards the viewer, it just was. And that was too much. The ocean is the last and greatest frontier on Earth. The age of exploration for the surface is essentially over, and while cosmic horror does imply the cosmic, we aren't quite there in terms of exploring galaxies or other realities. We just don't have the science. The ocean, though, covers 70% of the Earth, and most of it still lays unexplored. It's a very hostile environment that everyone can imagine, with alien-looking creatures already having been discovered. I mean, look at this anglerfish or this big fin squid. They don't fit into our everyday perception, and with places like the Marianas Trench and the very bottom of that, the Challenger Deep, there are plenty of places for things to exist. The environment is hostile, we don't understand the entities, and we can't fully explore the realm. I mean, it may as well be another reality that we can poke our heads into. And that, I think, is the reason why the ocean is such a beloved setting for cosmic horror. It's real. It's relatable. You may even be able to look out of your window right now and see it, and yet you can't trust it. And you have no idea what it's hiding. Waiting for the right moment to rise from the depths and turn our understanding of the whole world upside down. Maybe those with thalassophobia might be onto something. The last game I want to look at is kind of the perfect go-between for cosmic horror in the ocean. In 2022, a unique game came out, set after the Quiet Rapture, an event that involves all planets and those on them in the known universe just disappearing, leaving only those who are in space stations or ships alive. As humanity begins to run low on resources in this post-planet reality, they discover something. It's a planet unlike any seen before. It has a solid core, but the surface is all ocean. An ocean of blood. You play a convict, someone condemned and expendable, and you've been tasked with exploring this ocean for the resources that humanity needs. The pressure is too much for any regular machines though, so they're going to have to weld the door shut and seal the windows so you don't get crushed. While exploring the ocean floor, you'll find strange and sometimes impossible sights, like buildings, immense skeletons, and something hunting you in the dark. This takes nautical cosmic horror and regular cosmic horror and pushes them together into an incredibly unique experience. You feel claustrophobic stuck in the smell tomb. You're confused and don't really understand what's going on. No one does, not even the people in power. What caused the universe to change this drastically? Are there answers here? Will you survive? We get the answer to one of those questions, and it just leaves us wanting more. And honestly, that is how a cosmic horror should make you feel. You caught a glimpse of something you can't comprehend, and now you're stuck thinking about it till you either go mad or try and find a way to move on with your life knowing that there is something more out there. This was a lot of fun. It was a small foray for me into something a bit different. I do want to do some more stuff like this, maybe some more video essays. I have a couple in the pipeline. I'm working on a rather big one about Fallout at the minute and Lovecraft, which keep your eyes out for that. If you have any cosmic horror games you know of, or any you think would fit well into this, drop them below. That would be good for me to look into in the future. I am thinking of making an iceberg in the future about different like levels of Lovecraftian horror games and things like that. From the most popular ones to obviously the really unknown ones. So if you have any recommendations, I'll take those. It would be good for me to be able to look into them. We are, as I say, working on that Fallout, as well as we have a couple of maybe video essays I might get into. If you have any ideas for stuff for me to cover, drop them down below. Again, this was a bit different, so let me know how you feel about it, any improvements, anything I missed, what you think I could improve on. Because we do want to progress, make this better going forwards. So let me know down below, and I will catch you all on the next one.